my story friends. Today's story is Vikram Betal. Betal Pachisi, famously known as Vikram Betal, written nearly 2500 years ago by Mahakavi Somdev Bhatt, are spellbinding stories told to the wise king Vikramaditya by the wily ghost Betal. Each story has a moral and ideal for kids. The stories of Vikram and Betal, originally written in Sanskrit, have been an integral part of Indian tales for many centuries. Vikramaditya, the king, was a great leader. Every day, a monk gifted fruits to him. One day, Vikram dropped fruit and a diamond fell out. The king thanked him for it and asked him what he wanted in return. He told Vikram to bring Betal, a ghost on a tree in the graveyard. King Vikramaditya, the emperor of Ujjain, promised the monk to bring Betal the vampire as a favor promised to him. The condition was that the king should bring the vampire in complete silence, lest Betal the vampire would fly back to its abode. As soon as Vikram attempted to fetch the vampire, Betal the vampire started narrating a story. Every single time the king tried to catch him, Betal would tempt him with a story that ended in a question. This particular Betal inhabited a tree in a graveyard, and the only way it could be captured was by standing still and completely silent in the middle of the graveyard. At the end of every story, it compelled the king Vikram to solve the puzzle of the story, the answering of which the king could not resist, thus breaking his silence. As a result, the Betal would re-inhabit the tree and the king was left to try again. The stories thus narrated by Betal the vampire forms an interesting series of tales. This was the start of a series of stories Betal told Vikram. But each time Betal asked Vikram a question, Vikram answered, and clever Betal flew back to the tree. Vikram and Betal stories have been an important aspect of the Indian tale sagas. The legend behind the series of stories told by Betal to Vikram make for interesting short stories to learn great lessons. It was a dark night and was raining from time to time. Gusts of wind shook the trees. There were strange noises, and in between the thunderclaps, the moaning of jackals could be heard. Flashes of lightning revealed fearsome faces, and there was strange and mysterious laughter of the spirits. But in spite of such a weird atmosphere, King Vikramaditya did not swerve a bit. He climbed the ancient tree to bring the corpse down, and soon he began to cross the desolate cremation ground with the corpse lying on his shoulder. The Betal that possessed the corpse spoke. "O king, I pity you as you're making untiring efforts without relaxing. As if you wish to achieve something. Instead of enjoying a comfortable sleep on a cozy bed, you're still coming after me. You seem to be quite adamant. Such arrogance may not help you keep your promise if you had given one to anybody. You'll realize the futility of the whole thing if only you listen to my story. The Betal then narrated this story. Today's story is The Unkept Promise. The ruler of Kishanagar, Rajendra, was extremely strong and courageous. He was a good ruler and cared about his people very much, as he would not do anything unjust. His subjects were happy and contented. His queen Prema gave birth to a beautiful daughter, Sona. As she was the only child, she enjoyed a lot of freedom. She was intelligent, well-read, and skilled in the use of weapons. When she reached a marriageable age, the king started looking for a suitable partner for her. The princess decided to marry a man more skilled than her in every respect. So, she asked her father to make an announcement that she would marry only the person who would be able to defeat her in a fight. The king was very proud to hear his daughter's views and made announcements in every state inviting princes to his kingdom. Thinking that it would be very easy to defeat a young woman, many fighters and princes from all over the country came to take the challenge, but none could succeed, as the princess was taking on the suitors one after another. Among them was Uday Varma, the prince of Ayodhyapuri. He watched the fight every day by joining the crowd. He carefully observed her way of fighting. Within a few days, Uday Varma learned all her strategies and was fully prepared to fight her. And as anticipated, it did not take him long to defeat the princess. Uday Varma proudly told the king and the queen that he was able to defeat the princess by closely observing her fighting strategies. On hearing this, the princess suddenly said, "Dear prince, I know that you have defeated me, but I cannot marry you." The king was surprised by his daughter's decision and asked her the reason for the refusal. The princess turned towards Uday Varma and asked whether he knew the reason or not. Uday Varma thought for a while and said, "Yes, you are right. We cannot get married." Saying so, he walked away from there. The king and queen were surprised to see Uday Varma accepting Sona's decision without any argument. They were unable to understand the whole situation. Betal thus concluded the story and asked King Vikramaditya, "O king, why did Uday Varma quietly accept the decision of the princess? Tell me, Vikram, Tell me, Vikram, if you do not speak, even if you know the answer, your head will be split into pieces. Vikram replied, Daivarma had learned the art of warfare from Sona, just as a student learns it from his teacher. Both of them agreed not to marry each other because they understood that in Bharatiya Sanskriti it is immoral for a teacher to marry his or her student. Vikram had rightly answered Betal's question. Since he had spoken again, Betal flew back to the tree. Vikram, with his sword in his hand, went after the Betal once again.
You have enjoyed you have enjoyed the story. Please like the story and subscribe the channel Stories on Plate.